This topic is going to combine the factoring that we did in the previous lesson with synthetic division that we did earlier on. So it's going to be a combination of factoring problems with synthetic division. The first two examples, you were going to be given a factor. So remember, the factor is the x minus 5, the 0 that goes with it, would be setting that factor equal to 0. And solving, that's why you are switching the sign when you do synthetic division. So the 0 is x equals 5, and that's what you're going to use for synthetic division. So we're going to do synthetic division first. This is going to factor the polynomial a little bit. Let me move that down a little bit. So bring down the 1, multiply, and add. Make sure when you get 0, you continue on the problem. You can add 0 to numbers, and then we'll get negative 45 and 0. If something's a factor, you should get 0 at the end. So since we're telling you that it's a factor, make sure that you get 0 as your remainder. Now you can put the x here and the x squared. I would recommend not writing the 0x and just writing that as x squared minus 9. So far, the factored version is as follows. X minus 5, which was the one we divided by already, and then what's left, x squared minus 9. After you do that, you're going to just take that other parentheses and factor further if possible. So this one is a difference of squares. We're going to factor that into x minus 3, x plus 3. And that's the full factored version. If you were to graph both of these, you would see that you would get the zeros in the same exact spot, and it would look identical. Okay, so our next example, same idea. Again, if we're looking to find the 0, because eventually we're going to be completing these and solving. So the 0 would be setting the factor equal, solving for x, and that's what we're going to use for synthetic division. So we'll do negative 3. 1, 3. Now be careful, we're missing the x squared here, so remember it's a 0x squared in that spot. And with 0, negative 1, and negative 3. Okay, so this is an interesting one, because this would be x squared, and this would be x cubed. So recently we just learned a new type of factoring that will be involved in this one. So we started off with a factor of x plus 3, and now you're left with, after dividing, x cubed minus 1. So what you're going to do is factor the x cubed minus 1 using the sum and difference of cubes formula. So if you recall, we're going to have two parentheses. The first one is going to have the same sign as the original problem, and you'll cube root both. Then the first term is going to be that squared, and the last term will also be the number squared, the second one. And then your middle term, you'll have an opposite sign, and you'll multiply your a and b. So remember, it's a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. So I just need to throw in the plus ab, which should just be an x. This is your final factored version here. And that's it. If you're given a factor, you're just going to do a synthetic division once and then do any remaining factoring that's left over. The next video will show you how to factor if you're not given any of the zeros or the factors to start with.